Well, the
About that.
first two that Mary Alice and I had lived to 10 and 11. And the very last one, though, defied the odds, and he had cancer for several years. And he lived to just shy of 14, which is
Wow.
very old for Goldens.
Mhm.
But I haven't read the article that Tom just sent out, but it certainly clicks that if it's about longevity, uh, Goldens are much more susceptible to illness, and especially the cancers. So
Yeah, I love golden retrievers, and
they really are wonderful. I know guide dogs still has them in their among their breeders, but they're a small percentage simply because of their susceptibility to cancers.
Yeah.
yeah, I've tried to. I've proposed them to Darlene many times, and the response no is no, and one of the prominent reasons is they die very young, and we really get attached, as we all do.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it's another trauma,
right. Well, we're
Yeah,
having
Palliative
gave,
care.
gave something of the history of the breeding of them, of actually of the formation of dog breeds from the prehistoric times, and how
well, that's a long article.
Leave it to you.
Ancient times.
it is actually.
prehistoric.
So
Fred
I'll try to
jumped
make
in
a
with
copy
something.
of it. I'll
we
try to
spoke
make a
on it.
PDF copy and send it out.
Okay.
Meanwhile, welcome Fred, welcome Bob.
Hi, Fred.
Hi,
Hi, Fred.
glad to
Hi,
be
Bob.
with you.
Nice to have you here.
Have you progressed at all on the writing that you told us about last Friday? The decision
Progress, but not finished.
well, yeah,
But
I can imagine.
goes on.
Yeah, cool, great.
Hey, Johnny, I meant to ask you, did you ever have your hernia fixed?
I'm still waiting, but they called yesterday to say we think we have a date and we'll call you later. So today I'll probably find the scheduled date.
That's unusual, John, from Kaiser. They usually are, Johnny on the spot, no pun intended. Quickly do what needs to be done, etc. As you know, and I'm really surprised that they put you off, etc., etc.
They've been having strikes, haven't they?
Oh yeah,
They
certainly
have.
have.
They have, and I think the COVID induced shortage of staff personnel has hit
Both factors. The
very hard.
news yesterday was they have come to agreement and should be announcing today that it's resolved.
That's
So,
good.
John, I presume you're on Medicare. Is Kaiser your supplemental insurance?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. Just curious.
My experience with them when I was in law school, I was also teaching for the LAUSD, and they provided Kaiser. It's just a really great insurance to have. Both Darlene and I really benefited from it. When I graduated, got out of law school, I went to see, I was going to prepare for the bar, and the doctor said, "I'm not going to let you take the bar." And I said, "Why not?" He said, "You've got some kind of ulcer. What do they call it? Some kind of abdominal
lesion.
Colitis?
Yeah, it was an ulcer, a large one," he said, "and I'm going to fill you full of meds to keep you very, very calm." I said, "Wait a minute, I still got some jobs and I've got to study, and I'm not going to not take the bar." And so he said, "Well, let's negotiate this." He was just really great. Anyway.
Well, you didn't die.
No,
Did he moderate
Well,
the,
the bigger question is, did you pass the bar the first time
no,
through?
no, Tim, I didn't. I was just flying, I was just flying every day. I took 4 of those pills.
I
had
was gonna ask, did they lower the medication at some point then?
no, I asked him to, and he said, no, I can't. He says, you're really screwed up in there. And I said, well, I'm not going to pass. He says, well, take it and see what happens. But I had 3 jobs my last year at law school, teaching 2 different places and also working with a bar exam tutoring company. And he said, that's what you get for overdoing, Anyway, I passed the next time, and that was no sweat.
Are they talking about, Rich?
Passing the bar exam.
Mhm.
Passing the bar exam.
Hello, Sue.
Hi, Sue.
Hey, Sue.
Feels like we know
They're
Sue.
all saying hi, Sue.
Yeah,
You just
All these guys.
tell them hi for me, but don't let them look over here. 'cause otherwise-
She says hi. I'm supposed to say hi for her. So hi.
Hi.
But we can't. But we can't.
Hi, Sue.
But we can't look at her. Yeah.
Thanks. Ben.
She's a little bashful on that score.
so Bob, did you feel the earthquake?
Here in California, up north, I didn't. Not at all.
But not far from you, was it? It was south of San Francisco, Sacramento?
It wasn't too far, right? It didn't set off my my alarm on the quake setting or
Uh-huh.
and I know that it worked because the test was yesterday or the day before, the national test, and it did set it off and that worked pretty well. Didn't feel a thing here.
Oh.
It was, it was like 4.7, although initially they screwed it up royally, the reporting centers and stuff, because initially they said it was a 5.7,
Mhm.
and that apparently set off the automatic alarm system. So the alarms went off in San Francisco of all places too, and so even
Mhm.
further to the west, but felt nothing.
Mhm.
And none of my neighbors reported feeling anything either. It could have been just me. But
So let me ask: Did any of you are any of you guys following the saga of the speakership of the House of Representatives?
I watched the
How can you not?
yesterday.
It
again,
was interesting that the one that just concluded. I don't know if I guess if you had to put a person connected with the word stubborn, I might use Jim Jordan right now as an example of stubbornness.
Try to
People
beat
say, well,
that.
people say, well, what do you mean when you say someone is stubborn? I think if you can show a person, an image of someone and watch their behavior, it gives a whole lot of meaning to the word. The thing that fascinates me, I can remember, I was thinking about this back in '74. I was teaching political science at University of Georgia, and the Watergate hearings were going on, and I had the ability, which was unusual at Georgia given how antiquated it was, I had the ability to have my students watch those hearings. It was a fascinating several months. But the thing that was very intriguing to me in comparison to now is how bipartisan it was. It was bipartisan. You had Howard Baker, who was the Senate Minority Leader, senator from Tennessee, who was with Irwin, the Democratic senator from North Carolina, who was chairman of the Judiciary Committee. And there was none of this bullshit stuff, and I was listening to McCarthy this morning in his nomination speech for Jim Jordan. 99% of what he was saying was just, political bullshit. I mean, lies, just outright lies. Can you hear me okay? Because my ear pods have just done
Yes.
something weird.
Yes.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
you're fine.
That partisanship is just that's exactly the way they work. When I was working with George McGovern, Frank Mankiewicz, who had been Bobby Kennedy's press secretary and later a big cheese in the Peace Corps, was the de facto campaign manager. He and I got to be really good friends. And one day we were in a bar drinking, and they like to drink, geez. And he said, it's a power block system. And when a party gets in, they pass as many laws as they can, and they complicate and make them difficult to be gotten rid of. And then the next party comes in, and they try to get rid of as many of the last party's laws, and try again to do whatever they can to pass what they've got and make it it's just this back and forth, and it just really, really, really irrational kind of thing. When you find a politician that's willing to talk with the other side and even collaborate with the other side, it is just this big, fight. People calling him a traitor, and it's just amazing.
And what I'm hearing from you, Ned, the common good comes in third.
Yes.
The policy to partisan policy.
Frank would say that they're so convinced that their policies are for the common good that they want to shove them down everybody's throat. So it's a real, and lying is not out of bounds. It's just
Is it in every field?
Oh God, it's crazy.
Well, no, but see, the thing is that most of the public is functionally illiterate, in my opinion. They are we have an illiterate population. And so when they hear something, they don't have the experience, the historical perspective to say, this is a bunch of bullshit. I'm sorry, this is just wrong. And I think the change that we've seen in the last 7 years, since 15, is the Trump effect cannot be minimized. I think he has taken the idea of a party having a philosophy or a core set of principles, and he's just destroyed that. I can remember vividly, it would have been in 18 or 19 where he was saying, he didn't care about national debt. He said, I think debt is good. Well, I mean, he built his empire on borrowing money. And then you had McConnell and you had some leaders in the House saying, all these years, and we've been talking about the deficit, we really weren't serious about it. I wish that someone could pull out those videos of these guys saying, deficit, we don't care about that. But the public has become lazy, I think, in terms of trying to understand the issues of the day. Did you guys watch Biden last night?
Yes,
I didn't.
saw some of it. I didn't see the whole thing.
I saw an interview with him on Air Force One when he was coming back from Israel, and it was just kind of informal. He was standing in the hallway on Air Force One and taking questions here. The guy does have some difficulty putting words together in a very coherent way. But what came out in that interview, and I think this is something that makes me want to perhaps overlook his, being 80 or 81, is the guy said, we have to care for people. We have to care for the Palestinians. They're not the ones who are shooting the rockets. It's this radical. We have to care for each other. and it was a message not of gotcha politics, but it was, you know, we're better than this.
Personal
You know?
ethics, would you say?
Well, yeah, personal and also political ethics, you know. And so, and I think that came through in the speech last night, although I'll tell you, the right wing has, you know what they focused on? They focused on, he misspoke some words. They focused
The
on
stutter. Yep.
yeah, you know, his reading the script too quickly. You know, they didn't focus on, you know, the content. They focused more on the medium. You know, how did he deliver it? So I don't know. It's a depressing time. It's
Yes.
depressing.
He's a substantive person. The people that are critiquing that, I think, don't have the strength that he has and the depth that he has. So he does have, I mean, he was a stuttering guy from childhood and had a terrible time with regard to that. But, you know, he's gone through all these years of really operating in the political field. And I think he knows what he's doing. He may not speak as well as some more fluent person, but I think what he's about as a person and what he's trying to provide as a leader, I think has to be respected in my view.
Mhm.
I agree.
I agree with you too. But you know, with respect to being a Catholic, he's a cultural Catholic. He you know, he talks about his experience with his father in the kitchen, on the you know, at the table, and it's just a typical working class, wonderful, generous.
Are we getting some sound problems with Ned?
Are
No.
No, I'm okay.
I really like him, but he really needs counsel, very, very good counsel. And when he knows what's at stake, what the details are, he makes good decisions, I think.
Ned, if you're not, you use the word cultural Catholic. If you're not a cultural Catholic, what kind of Catholic are you?
Well, by cultural, I mean Mass. You may not listen to the homily. Maybe the priest isn't very good at homilies. You know, you get baptized, you get married, you get buried. You
say the rosary every day.
Well, you might if you really are devout, or, you know, pious.
Because he does carry a rosary on him all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I like him a lot, but when he has good counsel, he makes good decisions, I think. When he doesn't and speaks off the cuff and you know, I mean, it complicates it because he may not know the details he needs to know. And I can't give you an example, I'm sorry. But you know, that adds to his difficulty in putting words together. Although I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as everyone says. You know, I know last night he may have stumbled a lot, but you know, he's 80, what, 1, 2?
No, he's 80. I think he's just 80 still.
Oh.
Yeah, I think there's 81.
So we're older
well,
than he is.
Well, he might be 81. He might be 81.
Well,
so he could be on our podcast here with us and fit in quite well.
Yeah.
He'll turn 82, I think, next year, the 4th year of his presidency. So if he wins, then he'll be the president until he's 86.
Okay.
I was impressed with how well he did, given how many time zones had he crossed in the previous 24 hours?
Yeah.
What had he been doing all day?
Yes.
And this is on the flight back, crossing more time zones. From what I caught bits and pieces of it, but it felt like him. And I'm sort of tempted to say, although I won't, as often has been said about, democracy and the Democrats, he's a terrible president as a candidate, except for all the others. That's supposed to be funny, as they've said about Democrats and democracy. And I'm clearly, I'm very sympathetic toward him, and empathetic as well, given the speech handicap, the stuttering issue that he's had. That's a complex issue. He's come back from that in such an amazing way. It's like, and I'm biased because not because I'm now 82, but biased that he's doing as well as he is for someone as young as he is. So
consider how he made his own decision to go over and go into the Ukraine without people knowing where he was going. Why did he do that? Because
why did he
cares about what he's responsible for. And why did he go over to talk to Netanyahu in person?
Yes.
Because he's an in-person kind of individual. And he wanted to be there and talk to them face to face, eye to eye. And and he was he could have been killed.
Absolutely.
If somebody knew what he was doing.
I was blown away when he announced he was going to do that, and went and did it. And what if he'd been blown away? Then what? Wow.
We would have your best friend Kamala Harris as president of the United States, Ned.
Oh, God help us. What a disaster. There have been long-winded articles about how uncharismatic and communicative she is, and wondering how are the Democrats going to work that out if Biden does, is the candidate, and he will be, and if either dies or has some kind of major medical problem, and then Kamala has to step in. Wow.
What did she
How
do?
about Jim Jordan being number 3?
Yeah.
Oh,
There's that.
What did Harris do when she was in San Francisco? She must have had some kind of quality, because she had 2 major positions, right? And then she got elected to the Senate. So
Yep.
it's got to have some substance to her.
Attorney General and United States Senator.
Yeah, she's practically my neighbor down the street there in Oakland, lives a couple miles away. I followed her career and has been, I basically voted for her in every election, and that goes quite a ways back. I've been here since 1971. And, I think there's a whole lot of put down of Kamala Harris. And so she's not that bad. Come on.
Well, California is probably, I don't know to what extent there's a real good competition with New York, but it is the most liberal state. I mean, it's its own country. And the fact that Kamala is a woman, and is Black, and is well-spoken, had to do, did a lot. She got support from the right politicians. I'm not saying that she's not smart, and she's a good, I expect a good lawyer, but here with the right political base and being a woman, and including being Black, that had to be a huge thing.
Yeah.
I'm not being.
I did it once before, but one of Bob's fearless forecasts that basically she will remain as VP to Biden, but in the new term when Biden is reelected, she will resign, and the guy currently flying to Israel, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, will be positioned as vice president to move into the president. Bob's fearless forecast.
Now, Ned, you covered your
Now,
face.
that we will preserve on video. That we will preserve.
Oh no, he's supposed to be erasing them every 2 weeks, you assured us now.
I'm erasing them from YouTube, but
Okay.
from my private personal.
Aha.
Okay,
Oh,
if
that's right. Yeah.
I see that Gavin Newsom is going to have a debate with Ron DeSantis in the next several weeks, a nationwide televised debate. And
the man's
I think that's interesting, that because I saw an interview with him on, I guess, 60 Minutes, and, Newsom is a highly articulate guy. And he's taken on Hannity and Tucker Carlson and kind of doesn't give an inch on that. And I'm imagining, okay, so, and when he was asked, would you consider, if Biden steps aside, throwing your hat in the ring? And he said, well, Biden's not going to step aside, but so he dodged that question. But I mean, to go and to say to Fox News, okay, I'm happy to debate Ron DeSantis on nationwide Fox broadcasting. Is he positioning himself?
Absolutely.
Seems to me like he's really,
Absolutely.
yeah.
right.
He wants to be president fiercely.
Right. He literally is on his way to Israel as we speak. He's in the air. He's expecting.
Didn't know that.
That's breaking news earlier today here, at least in California. Yeah.
He Jewish?
No, he's Catholic.
He's Catholic.
Catholic, is he?
Yes, he sure is.
Well, Catholic, yeah. What were you talking about? Cultural Catholics?
Right, that's right, Bob. I agree.
I'm sorry. Is there
I'm
a chance? Is there a chance he's going to Israel on a mission from Biden to do follow-up on his visit?
So.
Who knows? Could
be, but I doubt it. I mean,
could be. No, I think it's part of his positioning.
I absolutely agree. We would know if he was some
great
kind
debate in a few
emissary of Biden's. I mean, that would be part of the package going there.
Right. Hey, speaking of free will, I have a question. If it's okay.
Were we speaking about free will?
No, but
oh, okay.
I was just wondering if we might shift a little bit. I'm sure free will has something to do with it. If free will is such a thing, there was one more, and I was thinking of you, Fred, and how you but I was more interested in Fred rather than Lonergan. But if Lonergan and you and Lonergan were to look at the issue of free will, sort of, and how would you respond to, say, that article in yesterday's New York Times? One more along the, Soplonsky is one out there who's basically said there is no such thing. But this has been going on for a long, long time. But it's the neuroscientists, like the professor at Stanford yesterday, who was a detailed article in the New York Times, and basically said, is, in a very, very nice way, there is no such thing. Our neurobiological our brain has our whole being, our brain has predetermined everything, so that free will is just a way of speaking about some mythical thing, and it ain't no such thing. But he said it very nicely, as not to offend too many people and stuff like that. I was thinking of you as I was reading the article. I looked for it earlier today, but I wasn't able to come up with it again, just to
I saw the article and I'll see if I can find it and I'll see if I
Thank you, Tom.
That'd be great.
Thank you, Tom. You're such a
Yeah.
good technician. But
There
I
may or
think
may not be, there may or may not be a paywall involved, but
Well, the question is, Fred, free will?
free will, yeah. Is there? I mean,
In other words, do we
Condition-
really have it?
Conditions have to be fulfilled in order for it to be free. And basically, de facto, a lot of people who are habitual sinners don't have free will anymore. They need God's grace in order to be freed. And that's true for an awful lot of people, I think.
Mhm.
So the big thing is conditions have to be fulfilled. And one of the conditions from a Christian point of view is Jesus died so that we could have free will. But Jesus died also so that we could fulfill the conditions that are needed in order to have free will. And in some sense, that's a pretty hard sell. Because we see people all the time who well, take for example, Trump. The probabilities that he's going to actually tell the truth most of the time are very low. So he doesn't have free will too much anymore. He's an habitual liar. And he would need to really rely on God's grace in order to have free will again. And so we could pray for that. But whether he would respond to God's grace is another thing. So
It's interesting. And so let's kind of move to a concept of addiction. I have a friend of mine in Cursillo who has a major outreach group for men and women who are sexually addicted. And Brian asserts, and I never could understand, asserts that because it's become addictive behavior, it moves from the realm of sinfulness because there's no active choice any longer in the matter. Now, is that logical?
You know, Tim, a really, really good psychologist, a guy by the name of Gerald May, wrote a book called Addiction and Grace. And he says, we are all addicted. I think that's one of the reasons, or one of the bases for wondering whether free will is out there, because we all, according to May, are addicted to little things and big things. And sinfulness in this society is difficult to avoid. And so, you know, what Fred is saying, I think, is just right on. How do we free ourselves from all of the things that this world is telling us, and is just showing us now as a matter of fact? Just, you know, some of the most creative and funny or serious television shows take for granted that sexuality is something to have fun with, and that you have fun with it. There's no question about commitment or profoundness about it. It's just fun. And now I believe that most of our society believes that. And lying, I think, is up there too. So,
I think it may be number one.
Especially after
And
the
so,
liar,
and so
the
Ned,
liar in
Ned,
chief.
and so if there are several preconditions for a mortal sin, and one is you freely know the choices that you have, and I don't know them perfectly well, but you know it's a serious situation and you freely choose to do it. But so if you have a lifelong addiction to something that objectively looks sinful, then if you are addicted to a certain immoral act, I mean, does it ever then rise to the level of a mortal sin?
I've often thought, Tim, that our society is becoming so superficial that maybe we're not capable of sinfulness in the appropriate sense of it. But that also, I believe, is sinful. There's a whole lot of people pulling strings. Mark, our son, left Google, and because he could not handle any longer the manipulation that was going on under the umbrella of our artificial intelligence, and that was his baby. He was a director there, and it was just too much. So he left. We are being conditioned mightily, creatively, and you know, I don't know how we're going to be able to avoid the effects of all that.
And so that sounds more like the sinfulness is society-wide.
I think so.
And
Well,
where? Go ahead, Tom.
Sorry, that's a point really that I think was very central to St. Paul. And I think to the Gospels, because I mean, they don't use the word societal sin, but they do use the term the spirit of the world.
Okay.
Which I think is exactly the same thing as societal sin. You know, that the world left to itself creates an environment that is inherently sinful, within which it becomes difficult and increasingly impossible to actually make and I'm not going to use the word sin here, but to make a genuine moral judgment, a genuine moral determination.
Vision, yeah.
And I think that, you know, Paul's leitmotif, if you will, the thing that he tries to approach from all different directions is it was the death and resurrection of Jesus that cut through that enables, if you will, enables the creation of an environment, both personal and social, community-wide anyway, within which a genuine moral judgment is possible. That's what I think he means by freedom. You know, Jesus Christ has set us free, meaning that we are in him through the effect of his death and resurrection, his becoming one with the effect of the sinfulness of the world in the crucifixion. You know, he took on this sinfulness of the world, and in doing that created the possibility of being free to make a genuine moral judgment. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. He became sin, Paul says.
Yeah.
He
See, all those little quotes are pointing to a reality that I think Paul himself, as well as the gospel writers, found it impossible to express adequately. So you have to find ways of capturing bits and pieces of that truth and putting it together. And we ourselves find it impossible to express that adequately. That's why, that's why theologians can make money writing books.
Wait a minute,
Or guys teaching theology.
not money.
Or popes putting out greater volumes of print than any one person could possibly read in a lifetime, much less write.
Now, we're not being cynical here, not at all.
We
Well,
are.
not at all.
No,
We're speaking,
no,
maybe a
irony.
little, maybe a little. We're speaking, you're speaking truth.
Well, yeah, but expressing it a little bit ironically.
I think
Amen.
transcending the manipulation that's going on worldwide with respect to our druthers, what it is that we like and don't like. I find it difficult to hold on to my Catholicism, my spirituality, healthily enough to walk in this milieu and keep clean. It's hard, and you talk to folks, and I don't think they have a sense of spirituality. I really do believe that we're becoming so superficial that the decisions that are made would tell very, very simplistic, superficial stories. I think it's hard to find profound people who live profoundly.
And there, I think, Ned, I think of community, that if we're isolated, it's all the more difficult. If we have a community, and Tim, I'm going to put the ball in your court, like what I hear from you with Cursillo, that is a support system that stays with that sense of the love of Christ and the life of community. Am I with it, Tim?
Yeah.
Now, Paul
But
would add another dimension to that, which I think is at the heart of it. The community of disciples of Jesus Christ form today the body of Christ as the extension in space and time of everything that Christ is and means to our world. Now, he also spoke of us as individual organs of it, individual parts of the body. None of us is the body of Christ. We are all parts of the body of Christ. But, in some sense, I would continue that analogy with thinking of, for example, the Cursillo community as an organ made up of individual cells, each having a particular function that contributes to the functioning of the organ itself, which in turn contributes to the healthy functioning of the body. So, our modern medical discoveries of cells and parts of cells and DNA and all of that, in some ways that enriches our concept of the body of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
But unless we refer to the body of Christ when we're talking about community, we're just talking about a gathering, a social gathering. Which
and
gatherings are wonderful and important, But when it comes to sacramentality, when it comes to the community as being specifically Christian, I think we have to have the underlying concept of the body of Christ. Paul was, he based, I think, everything that he wrote to everybody on that identity of the community of disciples as being the body of Christ. That's my way of understanding it, at least.
You're along with Thomas Aquinas there.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Theologia,
yeah.
part 3.
And interestingly, I think it's along with Pius XII and Mystici Corporis. And one of my understandings of the origins of Mystici Corporis was that there were curial theologians, canonists and whatnot, who were extremely alarmed that this burgeoning recovery of the patristic and biblical doctrine understanding of the church as primarily the body of Christ, that they found that dangerous to the hierarchical church and wanted Pius XII to write an encyclical condemning that.
Okay, Tom, you have been a pastor for more than almost all of your life. How do you, and so like this morning's reading was Paul writing to the Romans, and he was talking about justification. I mean, I go back a lot of times and say, why it is the most confusing first reading, and I had a hard time deciphering what he was talking about. So how do you take what you were just saying about the body of Christ? How do you make that relevant to a 40-year-old who is struggling with his beliefs or their beliefs about Jesus, about the church? I mean, how do you go from 50,000 feet to how do you, what's the word I'm looking for? How does someone integrate into their own spiritual life what you've just said?
At the risk of dominating, I'll just
no go right ahead. Go right ahead.
I'll just say it relatively simply and then shut up. But the way that I would look at that is there's no simple answer to that. There's no guidebook that tells you.
I thought you had those guidebooks.
I wish.
But and I think here is where Pope Francis has a deep insight. The way that you come to that kind of spirituality is by accompaniment, by basically taking the other person's mind and heart by the hand and saying, let's explore this together. So there's not an easy formula. I think the right wing type people want easy formulas. I think the left wing type people want easy formulas. And of course they mutually oppose each other. But I've always felt that a mystery is not something that you explain, it's something that you explore. And you really can't adequately explore something alone. So that's where I think accompaniment is a key concept here, that we're dealing with something far beyond ourselves. So let's together take a look at this, and I can be enriched by your insights, you can be enriched by mine.
That's what we do on this program.
Sounds like
yeah.
Sounds like something they're trying to do in Rome at the present time.
Yeah, that is it.
Well, that's,
and I just saw online that Cardinal Sarah has given an interview where he was really blasting the whole damn thing.
Really?
Really?
Yeah,
Jeez.
he's really a right thinking guy. I mean, right wing thinking guy.
Well, I think the AA book, my parents, I was blessed to have parents who were drunks.
Big book,
Who went to AA
the big book of AA, yeah.
and putting their lives in the hand of God was something that if you went to AA meetings, people would say, and I did accompany my parents to some of those meetings. They would say how blessed they were.
Yeah.
To think that together they could put their lives, which they had no control of by themselves, in the hands of God. And then not only in the hands of God, but the whole idea of 12-step work. So, for example, I, as a seminarian, my parents, my parents were drunks, and they went to AA, and I would sometimes accompany them to AA meetings, and it was remarkable how often people did say that how blessed they were to have been drunks, because they knew their life was out of control, and they knew they had to put their lives in the hands of someone who is in control, which is only God. And so it was a wonderful experience I had with drunk parents. I had bad experiences too. I mean, no,
Yeah.
let me say, but
I add a little footnote that I've been listening for, and I listen for it an awful lot. And I generally don't find that because I've been not through AA, but I have been part of Al-Anon for a time, and I've known a lot of people who, are in AA, and so very often they will talk about the importance of the meetings.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
What I detect underneath the 12 steps and the meetings themselves is the importance of sponsorship.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yes.
Yeah, the importance of sponsorship, that you have to work the steps. You don't work the steps alone. It has to be with a sponsor. And when you have achieved your day-by-day sobriety, what is it? The 12th step is you have to become a sponsor. Maybe not in those words, but I think the 12th step is you have to share what you have received. And so the importance of that intimate personal relationship, which does not come at a meeting,
Oh, she's downstairs.
is I think key.
I because I was in the seminary, my parents were in AA, and being in the seminary, I often had a bed that was free. And I can't tell you, well, this was a kind of sad story in a way. One time when my father was driving me back to the seminary, he was saying how that he used to help people go find well, first of all, get them clothes that they could go look for a job in, and let them use my bed while they kind of got straight. And I'll never forget the fact that my father said one time when we were driving back to the seminary, that one thing that he just really couldn't get over was the fact that he had helped many people get straight again, actually using my bed as a place they could stay till they dried out a little. And this, I don't know why I'm sharing this, but he said one time when he was driving me back to the seminary, that he knew I was aware of all the stuff he did. And he said, one thing I almost can't get over is almost none of those people I let use your bed till they got sobered up, helped them get new clothes to go to job interviews, took them to the job interviews, et cetera, et cetera. And almost no one ever said thank you.
Oh, my.
That's true. It's true for a lot of it.
Yep, it is
I mean,
true.
But did that discourage your dad, Fred, or did he just keep chugging along?
He kept chugging along. Because that was part of the AA deal, is you put your hands in life in God's hands, put your life in God's hands, and then you do 12-step work. You help people who are wandering, and he helps people
Unconditionally.
Yeah, that's right.
But you know what? Well, as you were describing your dad, Fred, what came to mind was, one of the key people in the founding of AA was Sister Ignatia.
Oh yes.
Who worked. She was a nun. She was director of a hospital. The Sister Ignatia, the Angel of Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a book. She worked closely with Dr. Bob, and in the hospital, St. Thomas Hospital in Akron, it is. She, I think she devoted informally, because her superiors would never stand for this, but devoted informally a wing of the hospital, or maybe a ward of the hospital, to doing precisely what your dad did.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
And then working with Dr. Bob. This was in Akron, Ohio. So it's interesting to, read something of the life and relationships of the early pioneers of AA too, and to see something of their spirituality. Sister Mary Ignatia was, one of the key figures, as was Father, whose name I can never remember, the Jesuit.
Lord, I think it was Lord.
No,
no,
he was. He's the one who kind of was instrumental in bringing an Ignatian spirituality into the 12 steps. Daniel Lord wasn't he a writer of pamphlets? And
seen some pamphlets of his.
yeah, I remember that way back when. But I can never remember the guy's name. I'll find it.
And so I've not been following, John Allen in his commentary. I mean, are there any interesting leaks coming out?
I'm sorry, Tim. Ed Dowling.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right.
Father Ed Dowling, Jesuit, who was very close to Bill Wilson.
Yeah, I just was curious if there's been anything interesting leaking out of the Synod. Should the right wing, the rad trads, be worried about anything that's coming out, or do we know anything as to how the discussions are going?
I haven't heard anything.
There's a lot of writing, but I'm not sure that they're pulling out from the Synod gathering itself. I think most people are respecting that idea that they're not flooding out they're trying to absorb within and not make it a, you know, something that all kinds of other people are getting into it. There are a number of different groups that gathered in Rome and are having their own little mini synods, so to speak. I think they're
Really?
around.
Okay.
Get a lot of writing that comes from them.
And so this Raw guy, I mean, is he a member of the Synod, and is he kind of going off the reservation and saying some negative things? I mean,
Oh, the one I mentioned, that's Cardinal Robert Sarah,
Yeah.
Arah. He was the head of the Congregation for Divine Worship. And
okay,
he's been pretty effectively exiled, but he is
okay.
The red, what did you call it, Tim? Rad trads?
Radical traditionalists,
Yeah,
rad trads, yeah.
They presumed that the synod was bad, poisonous way before it started. All
Yeah, the
kinds
Second
of,
Vatican Council, they were against that.
yes, and you know, it's hard to swallow their stuff, because I mean, there were petitions and articles and just a whole lot of, this is going to be so poisonous to the church. You know, we're going to get talks about married priests and women deacons and on and
homosexual marriages.
yeah, and blessing homosexual unions. This is just horrible, even, you know, months and months before it started. So it's hard to understand why they are so completely down on this, and how could people like Cardinal Sarah and Burke and the guy in Tyler Strickland, and you know, it's just a pre decision on their parts to badmouth and oppose, you know, what's going on.
Before they even know what's going on.
Yeah.
London had a good point, though. He said that after sitting on the lid for 400 years, the council was like someone opening up a pressure cooker, forcing it open, and it explodes. Wow. There was bound to be an explosion, and people are distressed with the results of the explosion. And it has to do with the fact that you took off the lid that had been on for 400 years, and the explosion is an explosion. Huh? It really will upset many people in many different ways. I thought that was a good analogy.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, I like it.
And Ned, if you were, you know, to answer your question in a different way, is that you wonder what is their motivation? I mean, what is the Strickland and Burks and all that? Well, if you were a politician, you know what the motivation would be, is money. You know, send money. Yeah, you know, I am the speaker of truth, Marjorie Taylor Greene would say. Mm-hmm. So send me money, you know. And so it's all, if it's a politician, you would say Matt Gaetz. No, I mean, Matt Gaetz, I mean, what a fucking idiot, excuse my French, but I mean, and he did it, but he raised millions and millions of dollars from what he did 2 weeks ago. So is there, if you had a cynical bone in your body, would you say, I wonder what some of these church leaders are getting out of these positions that they're taking? You know, are they getting more YouTube? Do they get more YouTube followers? Would you monetize YouTube followers? I wonder if there's some sort of
I think they see themselves as some kind of messiah. I don't think they're getting any money. I think they see themselves as they're going to save the church, you know. The church is falling apart and they're the one that's going to pull it together.
And they do get more followers. I mean, I used to follow this one guy, Voorhees was his name, you know, and I mean, the more radical he got, the number of followers increased, and so YouTube pays you for every follower. You know, you get a little bit of money. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be cynical like that with respect to a bishop, but
If it's easy or if it's convenient,
You
fine.
don't want lunch.
yeah.
I do.
So you have to eat real food. You can eat just chocolate bars the whole day.
What are you offering me?
Lunch,
What?
fish with vegetables.
Oh, good, I'd like some, thank you.
Oh, Fred must have a cook.
There you go.
Sounds good, Fred.
My son-in-law is a chef.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool. Wow.
I
He-
think
he-
today is National Chef's Day, is it not?
He's a Spaniard. I don't know about that, but he's a Spaniard, and the way people in Spain say "I love you" is not to say "I love you," but they
feed
give
you.
you the food.
Oh, I think I could like to live with a Spaniard. And so how's everyone?
It
how-
is
so let's-
International Chef's Day, yes.
That's right, International
Right.
Chef's Day today.
And so how is it,
International.
how has everyone's week been? Anything exciting going on? Tommy,
Well,
you've had house, are you having are you having the foundation rebuilt yet?
the foundation, it is in process. One thing that the contractor's representative, who was very knowledgeable, one of the few that I've actually managed, I think, to talk kind of the same language with, but you know, she says the work that they do is fairly quick. In other words, it only takes any one phase of the job only takes maybe a couple of hours, at most half a day. But she says it is important to let every stage of it, they have to let it settle before they can do the next stage.
Hmm.
So they have, they've already bolted the frame to the foundation. They've put in the sister joists that strengthen the joists that were weakened by the water damage.
Sure, it's fine.
And they
It's actually so great.
have also put in new supports, the vertical supports on concrete, what do they call them? The little,
Here's
and then the last thing, they do have to take an old furnace out, which they'll probably do next week when we're not gonna be here. And they need to pour 4 concrete pads that will be then used to essentially strengthen the support of the whole thing.
Wow.
That's,
Wow.
so it's in progress.
and you sound satisfied with the steps.
Yeah, she really makes sense, and she is very, very good at communicating, which I've never encountered. You know, warning you ahead of time when they're coming, giving you a schedule, telling you the ambiguities and all of that. She's really good at that. Not only that, but whenever she comes, she brings coffee and croissants, so that
Oh, wow, that's even better.
by the way, the other exciting thing, there's been a bit of a ups and downs with regard to Karen's heart condition.
Yeah.
Here.
She has had bouts of rather extreme tachycardia, like 140,
Oh, God.
between
Wow.
140, 150 beats per minute, which, you know, is, how would I say, in her condition with AFib is not necessarily too alarming, but obviously that can't go on. Part of it may have been due to some other things like getting vaccinations. Hindsight says probably should not have gotten 2 vaccinations at once, but she did last week, and that gave rise to about. But the week before, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but her implanted defibrillator went off, which meant that the defibrillator was essentially saving her life.
Right.
It will only go off when there is detected ventricular fibrillation. Well, that seems to have settled it. She did get somewhat of a change of medication, saw, all of her doctors and all of that. And I think it's stable enough that this coming week, we are going to go up to Cambria.
Oh, good.
So next week, I will be coordinating all of this from the J. Pat, God willing, we'll be coordinating all this from the J. Patrick House in Cambria. So we can count on.
Well, someone's got to do the bad duty. Yeah, I'm glad you're doing it. Yeah.
And
Well,
thank you for
know
doing.
you long enough to know that you do plan very well in advance. So I'm sure you've got your options and your strategy all in place.
Yeah, a part of the iffiness there is you're at least an hour from any emergency services.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There are paramedic services there if need be. But for them, for example, to transport you to the nearest good hospital would be to San Luis Obispo, which would be the implantable defibrillator / pacemaker, which is really state-of-the-art type stuff. It does have a device that communicates via a cell phone connection with the doctor.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it sends a monthly scheduled report of how your heart has been behaving for that past month.
Wow.
It sends a detailed report every month, but it can send it if there is some kind of an event and you get in touch with a doctor. It can send it. You can have an immediate report. So we're going to take that transmitting device along, and so there will be the possibility of fairly decent communication with the doctor if everything goes okay. But the doctor said, if you can go this week without the heart racing, it's probably safe to go. So
now, Ned, you've been up to this Cambria place?
Yeah, we were very fortunate to have a very well-connected volunteer when we had Justice in Education, working, with low-income families who had children with disabilities. A woman by the name of Tia Deely. I just talked with her yesterday. Her parents have a home in Cambria, very close to the ocean. And Darlene and I have been there, 4 or 5 times. Love the place, just love the place. So yeah, her parents are very generous, and you gotta go, Ned, you gotta go, So yeah, we enjoy the place. We haven't been there for years now, but yeah, love Cambria. Tom, connected with that, what is J. Patrick House?
Well, it's a bed and breakfast type of place, but it was recently, like in the last 5 years, bought and taken over by the Cambria Pines Lodge, which I think owns, a number of establishments there, several on Moonstone Beach, then the Cambrai Pines Lodge on the hills right above the old town. And this is virtually across the street from there. It's run by the lodge, but it is run as a bed and breakfast. So it's got the, it's got the nice atmosphere of a bed and breakfast rather than a hotel.
Yeah, there's a
Hope you
bunch
enjoy.
of what looks like B&Bs along that
Yeah.
across the street from Moonstone Beach.
Well, along by Moonstone Beach, those are basically resort hotels along there.
Mm.
And so Bob C, are you getting another dog soon?
Thanks. You want to change it back to a doggy conversation, huh?
No, I just was curious. I know it's important in your life.
I have one now, a little female. Her name is like the nut or the fruit, depending on how you come at it. Lychee. Hi.
Hi, Sue.
Hi.
Oh,
Oh no, that's not Sue.
no, this is Sandra. So
Sandra,
Sandra sent.
Oh,
so the-
Sandra. Hi,
So
Sandra.
this is the instant headline: House GOP abandons Jordan for speaker after a secret ballot loss. This is just in the last minute.
Hooray.
Wow.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
James.
Thank you.
What do you
Thank
do?
you for keeping us informed.
Thank you, Sandra.
He gave up?
Yeah, he
No,
gave.
I think they canned him.
Yes.
They canned him.
They booted him.
Good.
The the-
Chairman of the study committee, and he said,
Right.
so Herman, who's chair of that committee.
Can you hear her?
No,
We couldn't hear her.
Would you repeat?
So yeah, and so they have this. So at 1 o'clock, the Republicans got together in a séance or something like that to figure out what are they going to do after the defeat. And apparently, the decision was they're not going to go forward, and I guess they dropped him as their speaker designate.
No Ouija board involved.
So on Monday they're going to come up with a new name. You know, this guy who doesn't want it is this guy who has been the speaker pro tem. This guy from North Carolina, Patrick McHenry. You know, kind of he wears a bow tie. Anyway,
Yeah.
Dapper looking fellow.
yep. So Ned, what's your week been like?
Oh, good. Very busy. Talking with our kids and Mark took his family down to Tyler and had Bishop Strickland confirm 2 of his children.
oh dear God.
What?
Yeah.
No, Ned.
Yeah. No. Yes. And then they drove up
And be certain that it's a valid confirmation.
And then they went to Arkansas, where he's purchased some property and is thinking of building a home. Lots of land, got some creeks and lots of wildlife and forest and stuff. And then from there, they went up to Oklahoma to visit with some friends who had been living close to them when several years ago. And so he's on his way back home now, and we've been, corresponding with them. His family is just so wonderful. The little, the oldest is 13, the youngest is a month and a half, 2 months. So Dan has continued to have some difficulties with the doctor situation. Doctors are in a peck of disarray.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure Bob knows about that. Particularly ER docs. My my understanding, which may or may not be correct, but I think it is that ER docs are not members of hospitals as such. They are part of groups that contract with hospitals, and then they perform beholden to the head of the group, which has the connection with the hospital.
Is there a unique certification for that?
No, it's pure business. It's
Oh.
just business, and so you bargain with the head of the organization, you politic, and it's all about money. The guys that run these organizations, these partnerships, so to speak, they're not partnerships. Each doctor is an independent contractor who works with this group, which is contracted with the hospital. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And they're having
Dollars and cents, yes.
yeah, lots of trouble. And doctors in general, I'm finding at the University of California, Irvine, are seemingly very insecure in their practice, and it shows in the way they deal with you. I talked with Dan about it, and he says, "Oh yeah, you know, the docs all over the country are having a lot of trouble." And Bob, you could probably, you know, describe a lot of that stuff. But anyway, so we talked with Dan, and that's a source of I don't know, real worry to us, because he's just been offered the directorship of an ER group in Laguna Niguel, and that's 60 or so miles from where he lives, and he's deciding whether to take that position or not, because it brings with it just all this politics and need to satisfy the main guys who run these conglomerate, I don't know what to call them, groups. So that's been on the table and lots of conversation about. Darlene is got a really wonderful women's group that she runs, about 50 members, and she has speakers come, and one of the speakers that's coming that she's really happy about, guy you probably all know, used to be president of Gonzaga University about 11-12 years. His name is Spitzer, Robert Spitzer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's now legally blind. He can see some, but very little. And he's just genius. He writes books by dictating to a secretary, and he's relatively recently gotten into near-death experiences, and apparently there is just a huge body of data that hospitals have now tapped into and are creating of near-death experiences. And now it seems that 20% of folks that have temporary deaths, and then come back, 20% of them have had these experiences, and they're verifiable. I mean, these people talk about stuff that happened where they died, where doctors were positioned, what they were conversing about, what's outside the hospital. I guess they fly around, I don't know, and find stuff that's outside, and so the docs say, BS, and then they go outside and there it is. And yes, they verified that while this person was brain dead, they were having such a conversation, and making certain decisions. So anyway, he's going to come and talk with the ladies, because he believes that this is a very, very strong basis for eternity and God and the soul and etc. And so I'm really,
you talk about, did any of you see the movie several months ago, Sounds of Freedom, which Jim Caviezel was the star of it? It was about
Yeah, I saw that.
arrested.
Awesome movie.
Well,
Sounds of Freedom.
okay, I didn't see it, but apparently, Norm, the group that did that movie has one coming out within a month on near-death experiences.
I
on
heard
people, yeah, and
Wow.
I never saw the Sounds of Freedom, but a bunch of my friends did, and they said it was just incredible. Just
that. It is
very
incredible, and it's based on a lot of truth too.
Is it can you tap into it anytime, or was that
I
just
don't know,
one day?
Ned. I don't know. It is maybe out on Prime or Netflix. I don't know. But this new movie, so that this guy in Curcio who really kind of put us on to the Sounds of Freedom, said that this new movie, which is based upon the kind of thing that you're talking about, Ned, and people who relayed near-death experiences, apparently is extraordinarily well done, very, very well done. And the whole concept is the role of faith, in these folks who were rescuing these young kids who were in the sex trade, who were being forced into the sex trade.
Caviezel is into all kinds of some great stuff. He's also
he's weird.
He is a bit weird. He's in with the WTN and is speaking at right wing kind of Catholic stuff. But when they were making, maybe we have talked about this, when they were making Mel Gibson chose him to be Jesus in The Passion of the Christ, and there were various phases of filming this thing, and Caviezel got struck by lightning twice. One time when he was supposed to be on the cross, and
Right, I heard that.
Yeah, and lightning came out and hit him. I would think he would have been dead or something, but
at least took the message.
yeah. and a whole bunch of other stuff happened that was just a little over the line to say that it was serendipitous, that just coincidence. And he's very, very converted, convicted Catholic.
I saw him speak. I saw a video of him. He was speaking at this Conservative Political Action Committee thing, which is a big right-wing Republican thing, and he was saying that Pope Francis is in the pocket of the Rothschilds, which is always that canard, of Jewish big money influence. And he kept going on about how Francis was heretical. And I thought, oh my God, how do you get to, and that I'm not trying to be overly, but he also is a big promoter of Strickland, of Bishop Strickland.
Yes.
Yeah. And so how, without your divulging, how is it that your son does that?
We pray for him very, very fervently every day. And his wife. His wife is a lot less frightened about this stuff. But Mark is an extremely, extremely bright guy, but he's very structured. And structure and zeros and ones and math are very important to him. And I think he's just wandered into this place where things have to be yes, no, black, white, etc. And he laments that I'm not where he is. often, but he thinks that Strickland is a hero.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And so, Fred Lawrence, what are you having for lunch? Looks like you're enjoying something.
I'm
Yeah.
going to join you in front of Fred.
I'm having fish and potatoes and a mixture of different vegetables. How's that?
If you enjoy it.
Now, does your
Sounds
son-in-law
healthy
cook for
and
you every day?
Catholic. Fish on Friday.
Does he come every day, Fred? Does he come daily?
No, he's here. I live together with my daughter and his.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah, it is
How
wonderful.
good is that? Yeah.
And so, Fred, what's your week been like?
My week has been interesting because I'm part of different groups on campus that are just really wonderful group of people to be with. And I basically have to say, as people sometimes do, I'm blessed. So it's been a wonderful week.
Do you have, up there in the Boston area, have there been any campus protests regarding the Israeli-Hamas situation? I mean,
Not at
and
not at BC that I've heard.
okay.
Got to cross the river over to Cambridge and Harvard and MIT.
Right.
Yeah.
Lots there, Tim.
Really?
Oh,
wow.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
Have you been following in the news reports about the Harvard endowment really getting dinged by some long-term folk who have been contributors, and they've just said we've stopped because of Harvard's more neutral stance, that they haven't come out fully in favor. All this is filtered, Tim, through the media, of course.
Yep,
newspapers
of
and-
course.
So who
Yeah,
knows
yeah.
who knows what's really going on?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, Bob Bono, you're getting packed for Italy pretty soon, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been spending the week trying to finish off things that I had to take care of. My brother came up last night, and my older brother picked him up at the airport here. So he's over there, and I'm going over there to my older brother's place tonight, and then he'll take us up to Cleveland to get in the airplane that will take us over to Venice.
When is that? What day is your departure?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Oh wow.
Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow night. They fly overnight generally, and we'll be a week in Italy. So we're going to spend 2 days up in Venice and then go down to Rome. And then on the last day, we go out to Fiumicino, where the airport is. But happily, the Royal Caribbean, because I'm the chaplain of that cruise, they put a hotel room up for me and Dave. So we'll be there together on Saturday, and then on Sunday morning we take off. We get on the ship and away we go, and we'll wind up down in Miami on the 11th. So
Yeah, I remember years ago when when we occasionally went out to California, we would stop and see Paul Dotson. And I remember him telling me that like once a year he would be the chaplain on a cruise. And I thought, is that good duty or is that a burdensome kind of thing? And the impression I got from Dotson was it ain't bad duty. It's not bad at all. And so, Bob, how did you ever get connected with the cruise lines?
well, it happened when I was playing golf back somewhere around 2000 when I had moved out to California and was involved on a number of different fronts. And there was a kind of a golf outing that somebody called me into. And so I got involved in that. And because I was staying at a parish and I lived the whole time I was out in Los Angeles. I was with the pastor at that parish. We got along really well, and he golfed a couple times every week, and so he had this thing. So I went to that. In any case, there was also a priest, one of the guys that such as are at Notre Dame, but this guy was at one of the parishes down in Orlando. And then they put him out in Los Angeles to be the head of where, I forget the name of the priest that pushed the rosary, you know, and had put it on TV.
Father Peyton.
Who is it?
Peyton.
Peyton, yeah. So anyhow, Peyton was gone, so he was running that, but he really didn't like what he was doing there. And so they were moving him back up to Massachusetts. And he had to be there for Christmas. And that's when he was supposed to be the chaplain on the ship, because it was a lady in the parish that he was in down in Orlando who worked for Disney and had gotten him to be the chaplain on the Disney ship. So
okay.
We were golfing together, and he just said, everything's ready for me to go up to Massachusetts, but I have to find somebody to cover that ship. So I put up my hand and said, here I am. And I said, okay. And so that was the first time I think I had done it ever. And interestingly, there was a chaplain for the Jewish people who was there, and he was a military guy. But, he told me, here's what you do. If you want to go and do this a lot, you know, you get into it. So anyhow, I started doing that maybe 1 year or whatever it was. And so now it's the apostolate of the sea is what I do, because they make the assignments. Because what was happening, there were a lot of priests that were not really, they had left the priesthood, but they were able to exercise being a priest on ships. And so now it all goes through the apostolate of the sea. And so that's what I'm going to be doing. Next Sunday is when we get into that, and Dave will be with me because Royal Caribbean lets the priest to take a friend to be in the same room. So Dave goes with me, and we're having a good time. So that's what I'm busy about.
Bravo.
And so Tom and Norm, did you ever do that?
Yeah,
I
Tom.
do it still.
Oh, you still?
You do?
Yeah, in
didn't
fact,
know you
as I went up to Alaska, they didn't have a chaplain on the ship. And so I told the people there that I was chaplain. They said, well, you need to get approval. So I called Houston to the lady in charge of it down at the Apostleship of the Sea, and she called New York, where the ship comes from, and they got me on as chaplain. They didn't pay me anything. Usually you get a free voyage. Is what you get. I was already paid.
But your friends were paying for your voyage anyway, weren't they, Norm?
Yeah.
And Tom, have you ever done it, Tom?
Caribbean.
Cruises have never appealed to me, period.
Have you ever done one? Have you ever done a cruise?
I took the transatlantic Michelangelo, the Italian Lines ship, the first time I went to Rome, Helmut Hefner and I.
That was 1920.
And then as a going away present, an older couple who he was a deacon at Holy Name of Jesus Parish when I left there in 1983. They took me on this 3-day cruise down to
Ensenada.
That was nice because of the company with them, but the idea of cruising has never appealed to me. I enjoyed that ocean voyage, except for the fact that you go from west to east and you lose an hour a day, so you're effectively having the spring forward syndrome every day for 5 days.
Jeez.
And that does a number on you.
Yeah, I bet.
And so, John Bremer, how is life at the Communal Living Center?
Well,
You're still dancing.
And you're talking about cruises, because my family feedback really is that Papa is on a cruise and they treat him so well. But what I would like to share is what Thursday is my housekeeping day. That's the day a lady comes, does my laundry, and then cleans my place totally. So I decided to take a walk down to Holy Family and make a visit while she was doing the work. Wouldn't you know, after I'd just been contemplating a little bit, they started a novena to St. Joseph. Every Thursday, they have a novena to St. Joseph. So I'm hooked now. And the novena to St. Joseph on Thursday leads right into the 12:15 Mass. So it's a novena and a Mass. I'm pretty sure his name is John Urell, a retired priest of the diocese.
Yeah.
He did a nice job.
Very respected guy here in Orange County.
Yeah. So he said the Mass and gave a nice brief homily about being missionaries. It was the feast of missionaries yesterday, right? And
yeah, Isaac Jogues.
yeah,
American martyrs, basically.
so he did a good link of those missionaries to us. And I looked around the church, and when I went in, there were maybe 15 or 20 people. And by the time Mass and communion came, it was over a couple hundred. So they're doing a good job at Holy Family.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I'm lucky. We're in the same block. It's just
Oh, wow.
and so another blessing.
Norman, what did you do this week?
Oh, I got back from my cruise in Alaska. It's really nice. I did a wedding for a couple, and they blessed me with a 3-week vacation, Alaska, Washington, and went on a cruise. Went driving through Alaska. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. Went up to Denali. Went up to a lot of places. It was just wonderful. They treated me well.
And so are you busy at St. Matt's? You've been busy?
It's but yeah, I wish I had more to do. I'm okay. I keep busy.
If you have a little spare time, try to get somebody who is knowledgeable of computers to reinstall the most updated Zoom.
That is annoying.
That would be.
No, I did. I went to my computer guy and he says, it's just old. There's not much you can do about it. So the best bet is to get another computer.
And
it's a good thing we love you, Norm, because we would have kicked you out of the group a long time ago.
Yeah, well, I'll probably go shopping for a new computer.
Yeah.
Because I got this about 10 years ago for $500. So
I
Okay.
think I showed you a picture of this picture before of Norm. Can you see this, you guys?
yes, oh yeah.
That's Norm, and part of the liturgy of baptism. That was our first grandchild.
Ah,
I have that copy of that picture. It's a beautiful picture.
Yeah,
This
did
lovely.
I give you one of those?
I
Well,
couldn't lift him up like that anymore though.
Oh, no, you can't.
He's kind of heavy now.
He loves this picture, by the way. He's now 18.
Wow, tell him hello for me.
I will. But Norm is just wonderful with the sacraments. Just absolutely wonderful.
I enjoy it. I decided if I don't enjoy it, how can other people enjoy it?
Norm, I'm glad you used the word joy. We hear the early Christians, how they love one another, but I think how they enjoy one another goes together. And Tim, I think Curcio probably has a lot to do with that shared joy, huh?
Oh, Crucial's
It does-
great for that.
Yeah, it is good. And so, interesting. So my week has been, so last Sunday.
Oh,
was
wait a minute,
Sandra's
wait a
fifth-
minute, Tim, wait a minute, Tim.
sorry.
You've done this for everybody else, so we need to ask you, Tim, how was your week?
Okay, so last Friday, I cut out of this group about 1:30 my time. And so Sunday was Sandra's 80th birthday.
Uh,
And so what do you get? An 80-year-old woman. Okay, what do you mean? What do you get? And
You're
I
asking.
thought, yeah, I thought about 6 weeks ago, I said, well, the most important thing to her, and I mean this, the most important thing for her would be to see our son Philip, whom we've not seen in 2 years. He's the Army guy, and our daughter-in-law and only granddaughter. And so I arranged, and I kept it, I arranged for Philip and Emmeline to fly from Kansas here on Friday and just show up unannounced, to surprise Sandra for her birthday. And so, and I had given Tom the preview that when I hear Philip come in the house, I'm going to cut out. Well, I am the worst at keeping secrets. I thought for sure I'd given away so many clues, because she'd say, well, what are you going to do for my birthday? What are you going to, I said, I've got it all planned. And I was very vague, but my mouth sometimes runs before my brain. So anyway, it turns out that she had no clue. And so when I was on the call, I could hear. And so I told Philip that the side door was open and that Mom would be out on the upper deck. And so I could hear Sandra saying, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And I could hear her crying. So I cut out from you guys, and it was just beautiful. It was, there's no monetary gift or jewelry or anything I could have given her more than just surprising her with, Philip and Emmeline. And then the other two kids came up Saturday, and I cooked ribs. There's an old Southern tradition that I know about, how to cook baby back ribs and coleslaw and baked potatoes. So I made dinner, and it was just a wonderful, good time. And the three kids had not seen each other for maybe 5 or 6 years. And so it was really, and there was a lot of bourbon. And so that, for some reason, Elijah Craig or Jack Daniels kind of smooths things over. It's really, it's kind of like, and so it was a beautiful, beautiful weekend. And Philip and Emmeline went back to Kansas on Sunday afternoon, because he's in the Army and he could only get 1 day off. So it was beautiful. It was wonderful. And so I've built up a lot of good credits with Sandra for a while.
for
Yeah.
you. Now, we've
have we heard
known you
from
for a
Bob
while,
Steve?
Tim. I'm guessing that you either have a video or some sort of a
No.
graphic
No.
that you're gonna edit and put together for them as a souvenir for that week celebration.
Did not, Johnny, I never thought of that. I never thought about doing that.
Oh.
Yeah.
How
Didn't
about
do
Bob
that.
C? Have we heard from Bob C?
Bob,
Good week.
I had basically started, we had some lovely heat this week. What happened is some of the tomatoes that had decided to stay green into October turned the colors they were supposed to turn. And so this was a good tomato growing week. Doggy wise, I began to say that Lychee, who is a 2-year-old yellow lab I'm caring for now, is, as we speak, recovering from space surgery up at Guide Dogs. I brought her there yesterday. I'll be going to get her later, and she'll be with me during the recovery process. And then in November, probably once she's recovered, week 10 days in, she'll be rejoining the Guide Dog in Training Corps, which is
Okay.
what she originally had started off until breeding had hoped she might be one of their breeders. But she didn't produce the requisite 5 to 7 puppies. She just produced one humongous puppy. So she concentrated all her energy into one puppy, and the puppy is spitting image of her, a little male. His name, believe it or not, is Wingman, for any flyers out there. And he's spectacular, but Mama is going into she'll be an absolutely wonderful guide dog for somebody someday.
Let me ask you a question. So is it your role to kind of socialize her?
No, I'm just providing foster care, and what that means in the case of a guide dog in training is that I need to follow the same protocol that they would use up there, which is somewhat not the greatest fun, but she's easy. So, and there are things you have to do with regard to starting the walk while you're out on the walk, no socializing, no mixing with other critters and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
As if she were on campus and working with a trainer there. So, and they offer a couple of classes on how to do that for foster care providers like myself. And I'm one among hundreds and hundreds of foster care providers.
And so it's not your responsibility to socialize her.
Well,
I mean, you don't take her. Do you take her to Home Depot with you, or in the car to the park? I mean,
I take her to the park, but because she's a guide dog in training, she's, believe it or not supposed to be. She's been socialized. That was all part of the puppy training, and up to this time, she's socialized. But when she's working, she's a working. And so as part of the foster care for a guide dog in training, meaning that the dog is in the training program. It's a very rigorous program in preparation for a handoff to a person with vision issues. While she's in foster care, one has to follow their protocol, which means no socializing, no mixing with other dogs and animals, and that gets a little awkward, as you can imagine. But I in my neighborhood, I've learned the routes and the times of day when there aren't too many other dogs out, so I'm not likely to encounter them and sort of create.
But I don't know when he'll.
If you're curious as to about how that's done and what that's all about, encourage you just take a look at Guide Dogs for the Blind. San Rafael, California. They're the largest agency in the world.
You know, because you think about dogs, you want them to be friendly with people and all that. But just so when Philip was in Germany, he was the CEO of a military police battalion, and they had 40 canines down in Garmisch-Partenkirchen, and so then the dogs would come up. He was stationed at a big base called Grafenwöhr, and they had a big PX, a big shopping complex. And I remember the MPs walking around with these dogs, usually Belgian Malinois.
Yep.
And they didn't want kids coming up and petting the dogs. And I thought, well, why wouldn't you want that? And Philip said, no. He said, you want the dog is working. You want the dog to be focused specifically, and these were drug sniffing dogs. You want the dog to be focused completely on the job at hand and not be looking to get petted by some cute little girl, in the PX. And I had never thought about that because I've never had a working dog or a dog that's supposed to work. And so I understand a little bit about what you're saying, Bob, about the guide dogs. They're working. Yeah.
Right. And when they're on campus, they actually are wearing identifying stuff that basically says working guide dog, please don't pet.
Interesting. Huh. No.
So there we
We're
have
about done, Tommy?
Here we
got
are.
done.
'Twelve. We are
12.
about done. Yeah, and I gotta get going too.
And I'll be away for 3 weeks, so I won't see you
Oh,
in a month.
Okay,
well,
Bob,
send us a Bob, send us a postcard.
Yeah.
That is fun. Happy travels.
or, you know, at
Take care.
least
And
an electronic
congrats.
postcard.
Thank you.
Make-
Good to be
All
with
right.
Make
you.
America
Good to
God bless
be with
everybody.
you.
great,
Till
guys.
next
Make
time.
America great.
Bye-bye.